I was mentally abused by my dad for around 3 years. My mom is giving my dad a chance to change but is also treating him as though he had done nothing wrong. Does she not care? Is her reaction justified? Background. My F18 dad, M54, has been mentally abusing me for 3 years, but signs of it have been around for nearly my whole life. It was mostly him screaming and yelling at me in the car before school. He would berate every single aspect of my life. Tell me that I am pathetic, that I am an idiot, a loser, a piece of shit. He told me that I was going to be the cause of my future kids' deaths and it's because I deserved it. He would also tell me that I am nothing BC. Unlike him, I have never contributed anything to society and that everything I think I have achieved I haven't BC. It belongs to him and my mom. That I would never succeed in life. That I am abusive toward humans, my mom. He would also tell me very bad things about my mom. Basically he used me as his punching bag and his therapist. He would tell that she is a monster and it's mine and my M14 brother's fault and he hates spending time with her and that she is so backward, etc. All of these things that he would say about her were in relation to a criticism masked as advice about me, but he would also include anecdotes about their life together to back up his claims. My mom put on quite a bit of weight over the past 5 or so years and he started making fun of the way she walks but behind her back. When I told him that I has felt suicidal in the past, he made me promise to only come to him and never tell my mom if I felt that way again. BC, she would make it worse. He would do this and scream at the top of his lungs about it, mostly before he dropped my brother and I off at our schools. It would be mild in front of my brother and worse when we were alone. I would be constantly crying in the car when we arrived at school. In my last year of school, during my mid-year exams, on the morning of my first exam, he pointed out that my mom doesn't love me BC. She couldn't wake up to even make me breakfast on my first exam day, and he would mention it for the next few exam days. Right before my finals he started telling me that he was ready to die. That he wanted to die. He was probably going to die soon and that my cat who passed is calling him. He said that this wasn't BC. His life is so terrible. So I thought he was going to kill himself. And I couldn't tell anyone at it. He would constantly try to make me feel sorry for him and he would try and manipulate me into hating my mom. Throughout the I had begged him to see a therapist but he would say no. Your mom would never let me. He would also tell me how my mom kept on wanting to divorce him and how she had been in the process of getting the papers a few years ago but never told him she stopped. Recently he told me that she wanted to divorce him again and was going to talk to her family at it. My parents have always fought constantly. Their fights are mostly about my grandparents, Dad's parents who live with us. From what I hear, my grandma's mental illnesses and my grandfather caused childhood trauma for my dad. Whenever anyone upsets my dad, he goes silent for a few days and withdraws. When my grandparents were staying with us, my grandma OD'd a few times with my brother and I there. We were under the age of 10. My dad told my mom that when he was a kid he woke up to her with a knife over him. Knowing this and more, they made my grandparents my brother and I's caretakers on a day-to-day basis when my parents were at work. Multiple nannies of ours quit because they couldn't handle my grandparents' behavior. Yet my parents never kicked them out or removed them from my brother and my life. My brother and my whole life has been surrounded by constant fighting and accusations of us being abusive. My brother and I had spoken to my mom about this before when I was in grade 9. And she got angry at it and my dad was all like, I'm going to change. Then obviously he didn't. I'm now realizing that the abuse had been going on for longer than I thought. Now, at the beginning of this year I broke down in front of my mom. I had asked her about the whole divorce thing. Apparently she has never seen a lawyer or seriously considered divorce before. This caused me to realize my dad's behavior and how wrong it was, even though it seemed normal at the time. I told her everything. All of it. Most of my discussion with my mom happened with my dad present. And it happened over a few days January this year. I was in a state at the time and I looked through my dad's phone. I found a live dating video chatting app. I told my mom. Throughout this whole thing my mom never asked him to even sleep on the couch. They still cuddle in bed. She still dishes up his food for him. Her behavior to him didn't change. They lay in bed together for hours during the afternoon and then they sleep together at night. A few days after I had initially confronted the both of them, my mom was lying in bed complaining at a pain in her side. And my dad was next to her obviously. BC, he doesn't want me to be alone with her. So she was talking at this pain and he started rubbing her side, then he moved her leg and pulled her dress up and started rubbing her inner thigh crotch area next to her underwear, right in front of me. She then asked me to go and get something. Like 2 minutes later I walk into their room to give her the thing and they are now both under the duvet. Her legs are clearly spread and my dad's hand is clearly fingering her while I'm standing right next to her and I was talking to her. I noticed too late but he never stopped for like the 30 seconds I could bear talking to her. This fucked me up mentally. It felt like a betrayal from my mom. IDK if that's the right way to feel but that's how I felt. Under the stress over this I started vomiting every time I saw them near each other. The vomiting lasted about 2.5 weeks. My parents knew I was throwing up BC of the stress. I never spoke to them about the incident that triggered it. One day I told her that he said that she walked like a gorilla with her stomach out and then and only that night did she go and sleep on the couch. She screamed at him once. For a couple of hours after I had tried to talk with him, she gave him an ultimatum. He decides whether he leaves with my grandparents, my mom leave with my brother and I, or they work this out. But she's telling me privately that she doesn't want to and won't leave my dad or move away from him BC of my brother. And that I need to be considerate BC she has 2 kids and this isn't all at me. I literally never asked her to do anything. She told me that she loves me and she knows that what I was going through was abuse. My mom has been pointing out that my behavior has changed. I literally can't sleep anymore and I keep on walking into their room at night. And I hadn't been talking to my dad and that I'm torturing her and I'm making my brother's life hell. I had a session with a therapist with my dad and I've been taking stuff to help me sleep. It's 2 a.m. and so it's not working In the presence of my dad she keeps on confronting me saying that I'm behaving as though I want them to split up, to be divorced, and asking me straight up if that's what I want them to do. How am I supposed to answer that? Yes mom, I want you to end your 19-yearly long marriage even though you clearly don't want to? She also said that she hasn't spoken to her family at this BC they will want her to leave my dad and take my brother and I away from him and my grandparents. BC her family wouldn't understand. And they'd be disappointed in her BC she hasn't and won't. I really don't want to ruin anyone's life. She also says that out of everyone she should be the most upset, the most angry. I don't think so. Is this opinion wrong? She is under the impression that most of why this is happening is BC of my grandparents. So now she wants them to leave for weekends. I confronted her last night and she said that she has surrendered, she isn't going to fight with my dad anymore. That he's going to change and that I'm being unreasonable BC I'm still constantly getting upset and stressed out and it's stressing her out and I'm derailing her. She says that I need to move forward. And that she just wants to put everything aside and move on. This morning my dad called me to hold him BC I didn't sleep the whole night and I did and my mom confronted me at it this afternoon. Saying I'm being confusing and shouldn't be mad at my dad if I'm going to hold him. Yet after all this she says that she's obviously angry with him too. I have other extreme stresses in my life as well RN and I am at my wit's end. IDK what to think RN. I'm just upset and stressed 24/7. I just want to feel comfortable enough to sleep. I feel like I'm going crazy RN. I just want to leave. My dad is being treated with more sympathy and consideration than I am RN. Am I being crazy RN? Is my mom right? Do I need to change my behavior? How do I protect my mental health RN? Do I prioritize my health over my family dynamic? TLDR, my dad has been mentally abusive and I told my mom at it and she's saying that I need to move on, while she's been treating him the same.